This is Lord of Limbo. Today, you're going to hear stories from people who experienced something different. They weren't hiking in the woods, or exploring abandoned houses, or lost in hospitals left to rot. They were just online. Just browsing Reddit. But what they found there left a mark that time couldn't erase. Get ready for real stories, told by those who swore they'd never look at a screen the same way again. My name is Mario. I'm not the kind of person who jumps to conclusions, and I'm definitely not someone who sees ghosts in every shadow. I work in IT, spend most of my time in front of screens, and I've always considered myself a logical thinker. I like facts. I like explanations. But what happened to me about a year ago has stayed with me ever since. And no matter how many times I go over it in my head, I still don't know what the hell really happened. It started like most things do these days, online. I'd been going through a rough patch mentally, and I was spending a lot of time on Reddit. More than I probably should have. There was something about the anonymity of it all that was comforting. You could say anything, admit things you'd never say out loud. I mostly browsed. I rarely commented. Just read and moved on. One night, I stumbled across a thread that wasn't particularly popular. It was buried deep in some niche subreddit that I don't even remember subscribing to. The thread was titled, "Do you ever feel like someone is pretending to be human, but isn't?" Weird title, yeah, but it caught my eye. I clicked. The original post was long, rambling almost, about a guy who swore his neighbor wasn't really a person. Not in a sci-fi alien sort of way, but something deeper. The way he described it, it was like the neighbor mimicked human behavior perfectly, but something subtle was always off. The comments were a mix of jokes, stories, a few trolls. But one reply stood out to me. It was simple. Just the user saying, "They know when you notice them. Don't stare too long." That sentence hit me in a way I can't explain. I got actual chills. I don't know why, but it felt like it was written directly to me. I clicked on the username out of curiosity. Their profile was mostly empty. Just a few cryptic posts in other subreddits, none of them getting much attention. I clicked on one. It was titled, "If you're reading this, you already know." I don't remember everything the post said, but the tone was wrong. Not threatening, not aggressive. Just wrong. Like it was written by someone who knew something they weren't supposed to say. It talked about patterns and faces that don't belong to anyone, and how sometimes they follow you home. I didn't sleep well that night. Over the next few days, I kept checking that profile. The posts were getting more specific. One of them mentioned a man with heavy steps who always turns off the hallway light. That got to me, because I live in an apartment building, and my upstairs neighbor walks exactly like that, slow, heavy, deliberate footsteps. And every time I leave for work in the morning, the hallway light is off, even though I know it has a timer. Still, I brushed it off. Coincidences. Until one post mentioned something that made my stomach sink. It said, "He checks Reddit at 2:47 a.m. every night. He thinks no one notices." I do that. I don't sleep much. I usually scroll through Reddit around that exact time, because it's quiet and I like the silence. That line, there was no way anyone could have known that unless they were watching me. I stopped using Reddit for a week after that. When I finally went back, the user had posted again. This time, there was a photo. Blurry, low-res, clearly taken from outside a window. It showed someone sitting at a desk in a dark room. Just the glow of the monitor lighting their face. The angle, the layout. It was my apartment. It was me. My heart dropped. I stared at the photo for what felt like an hour. I reported the post, I blocked the user, I messaged the mods, nothing happened. The post stayed up for 2 more days before disappearing on its own. And then the messages started. Reddit messages, from burner accounts. No profile picture, no post history. All with subject lines like "still awake" and "we see you." The content was always just a timestamp. No context, no words. Just something like 3:11 or 4:02. Always a time I was awake. Always a time I had been online. I started unplugging my router at night. Closed my blinds. Slept with the lights on. But even then, I could feel it. That watched feeling. You know when your brain just knows something's off? It was like that. All the time. And then one night, I heard the knock. 3 soft knocks on my door. I live alone, and no one comes to visit me that late. I looked through the peephole, nothing. The hallway was empty. I waited. Another 3 knocks. Slower this time. I didn't open the door. Instead, I went back to my computer and checked Reddit, out of pure reflex. There was a new message. You don't have to be afraid. We're already inside. I turned off my PC. Pulled the plug. Didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I stayed at a friend's place. Didn't tell him anything. Just said I needed a break. When I came back home, the atmosphere was different. Colder. And something was off with my room. Nothing was missing. Nothing was obviously moved. But there was this faint smell, like wet paper and metal. Like something had been sitting there for too long. Watching. I wiped my hard drives. Changed my passwords. Got rid of every trace of Reddit on my devices. Haven't used it since. But sometimes, even now, I get messages. Not on Reddit anymore. On my phone. Anonymous numbers. Just a timestamp. No name. No message. Just a time I'd been awake. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear 3 soft knocks. No one's ever there. Story 2. My name is Nando. I've always been a night owl. I work late, I game late, I browse Reddit late. It's just how I've always been. Quiet hours, headphones on, lights low, that's my comfort zone. But there was this one week last year where everything that used to make me feel relaxed suddenly started to feel wrong. It started with a post on r/Ask Reddit. Someone had asked, "What's the strangest thing someone said to you online that turned out to be true?" I was scrolling through answers, some funny, some creepy, most just typical Reddit fluff, until I saw a reply that only had a few upvotes and no comments. It said that the internet watches back. Just that. Something about the phrasing got under my skin. The internet watches back. Not people online, not hackers, but the internet itself. I don't know, it sounded dumb, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. A few nights later, I got a private message from a user I didn't know. No mutual subs, no posts, nothing. The message just said, "You saw it. Now it sees you." At first I thought it was some ARG thing, like a creepy game or project. But the timing was weird. It came in the middle of the night, right after I'd been staring at that comment again. I hadn't even upvoted it. Just read it. And somehow, someone knew. I replied with, "What are you talking about?" No answer. Next night, another message. "Do you feel the static yet?" I didn't understand what it meant, but I swear, I had been noticing something off with my headphones that week. Like a faint buzz in the background, even with nothing playing. I assumed it was interference or just my equipment getting old. But after that message, the static started happening even when the headphones were unplugged. Then came the weird part. I was in the middle of watching a YouTube video, full screen, headphones in. It was one of those long video essays, and I was deep into it. But suddenly, the screen glitched for less than a second. Just a flicker. Enough to catch something strange. I paused and rewound. It was like a frame had been spliced in. Not part of the video. When I scrubbed through slowly, I caught it, just for a split second. A black screen with white text. N4ND0_. That's my Reddit username. No one knew that name outside the site. I didn't use it for anything else. I thought maybe someone hacked into my browser or was messing with extensions. I ran scans. Nothing. I even reset my PC entirely. The next night, I didn't go online. Didn't use my computer at all. Instead, I left it off, unplugged it, and just laid in bed, trying to read a book to calm my nerves. At exactly 3:36 a.m., I got a notification on my phone. No app. Just a system alert. It said, "Your camera is in use." I freaked out. I hadn't opened anything. I had no apps running. I physically turned the phone off. But when I powered it back on in the morning, the front-facing camera had this faint smudge on it, like something had touched it. A fingerprint maybe, but not mine. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. I even started writing it all down in a notes app, just to get it out of my head. That's when I noticed something truly unsettling. My draft note was edited. It wasn't even saved to the cloud. It was local. But there was a new sentence at the end of my last paragraph, one I never typed. "Don't look for us. We already know where you are." After that, I stopped writing. I stopped browsing Reddit. I uninstalled the app. Deleted my account. I even changed phones. But the final thing that convinced me something was seriously wrong happened a week later. I was at a friend's place. We were just hanging out, talking about random stuff. He knew I'd been kind of off, but I hadn't told him the details. At one point, I picked up his laptop just to check the weather, nothing weird. But when I opened a new tab, Reddit autofilled in the search bar. Not his account. Mine. N4ND0_. I stared at it. He swore he'd never used my account. He didn't even know my username. But there it was, active, logged in. It had messages. New ones. The latest message said, "You can't delete us." Since then, I've stayed off Reddit. I don't go on forums anymore. I barely use social media at all. I started using a dumb phone. Deleted every old backup. Switched to physical notebooks. And yet, every now and then, usually around 3 a.m., I still get notifications. Not on a phone. Not on a computer. I'll be walking past a turned-off TV, or a dark monitor, and suddenly it'll flicker, just for a second, and I swear I see a screen name flash across it. Mine. Story 3. My name is Letitia. I never thought I'd share this. Mostly because it still doesn't make sense, and I've spent the last 2 years trying to convince myself it was just coincidence, or maybe burnout. But the truth is, even now, I still don't feel alone when I go online. It all started during the pandemic. I was working from home, like everyone else. I live alone in a small apartment, and I've always liked solitude. The silence helped me focus. During those months, I got really into Reddit. I wasn't posting much, just lurking. I liked true crime, unsolved mysteries, digital horror threads. Stuff like r/unresolved mysteries, r/true crime, and sometimes r/creepypasta for fun. But I wasn't one of those people who deep dived into ARGs or conspiracy subreddits. One night, I was scrolling through a thread called subreddits that disappeared without explanation. I clicked out of curiosity, expecting dead links or banned pages. But someone in the comments dropped a weird URL. Not to an external site, just a Reddit thread. No context. No explanation. The comment was buried, not even upvoted. The link looked normal, but when I clicked it, it didn't take me to a subreddit. It loaded a post that had no title, no flair, no upvotes, and the username was blank. The post itself just said, "She's watching the watchers." I sat there staring at it. It didn't make sense. It wasn't addressed to anyone. It hadn't been posted to any known sub. It looked like a glitch. I tried refreshing. The link was suddenly dead. I went back to the comment where I found it, gone. The user who posted it had been deleted in real time. That's when I got the first private message. "She saw you." It came from a user with a random string of letters and numbers. 0 history, 0 comments. Just that one message. I blocked the account. Ignored it. A few days later, I started seeing changes to my feed. Weird posts would appear for a second and vanish. Things that weren't upvoted, things that didn't belong in any subreddit I followed. One was a photo. Black and white. Blurry. It looked like an office, maybe mine, but with no lights, and a figure standing in the background. I clicked on it, but it disappeared. Not just from Reddit, but from my entire browser history. I even checked my cache. Nothing. Then I started receiving DMs again. Different accounts every time. Messages like, "She's close. You're in frame. Do you hear the typing that isn't yours?" And yeah, about that last one. That's when I really started to lose it. Some nights, after shutting everything down, I'd still hear the faint clicking of keys. Coming from the room where I kept my laptop. And no, not from neighbors. I live in an old concrete building, walls thick as hell. And it only ever happened when the laptop was closed and unplugged. I started leaving my devices in another room. Even taped the webcam. Switched passwords. But the messages didn't stop. One night, after not logging into Reddit for a few days, I opened my account to check if anything new had come in. There was one message. Different again. But this time, it was longer. It said, "Do not look into her eyes. She already knows you tried. She doesn't forget. I swear to you, I have no idea who she is." But every single message, every weird vanishing post, every audio glitch on my calls, they all referenced her. Then something changed. My webcam turned on. By itself. Light blinking in the middle of a Zoom meeting, even though I had the camera covered. I heard my coworker say, Who's behind you? I froze. I live alone. He said it casually, like he thought someone had walked into the room. But there was no one there. I turned around. Nothing. He looked confused. I ended the call. I checked the Zoom recording later. It cut out exactly at that moment. Just static. Then nothing. After that, I wiped everything. Bought a new laptop. Switched accounts. Didn't log into Reddit again for months. But recently, maybe a few weeks ago, I had a moment of weakness. I was curious. I made a new Reddit account just to lurk again. No posts, no comments. On my second night back, I got a private message. Different account. But this one included a file. It was a screenshot. A screen capture of my old Reddit inbox. From years ago. One message in particular circled and read, "She saw you." And underneath, just one line of text. "You should have stayed gone." Some stories don't need monsters to be terrifying. Sometimes, all it takes is a screen. And a message from someone, or something, that shouldn't be able to reach you. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Stay aware. Stay safe. And remember, the internet watches back. This is Lord of Limbo, signing off. Until next time.